Hi guys, Timmy here, and here's a quick tutorial on how to install Google Gemini CLI on your MacBook and how to configure an MCP server. So the first thing you need to do is to go to the installation page, and you can get here through searching install Gemini CLI, and that should be the first link. And once you click that, that will bring you to the Gemini CLI GitHub page, and we will need some prerequisites. So Gemini CLI, to install it, you need Node.js, and I've put the link here, nodejs.org. And if you just click get Node.js and you click download, I would recommend you download the long-term supported version, right? And you select your OS. I'm using Mac OS, and you can specify either with NVM or NPM, right? And that should give you Node.js. And another thing that we'll be doing is we'll be configuring an MCP server to work with Gemini CLI, and we'll be using the Context7 MCP server, which is supposed to be an up-to-date code documentation for LLMs and AI code editors. So your AI agent, like for example Gemini CLI, could have up-to-date documentation on projects or things you're working on. So yeah, let's just get straight to it. So I have my terminal here, and I will just run the command. So once you've installed Gemini CLI, that it's as easy as that. You will need to authenticate with the Google APIs, and you can do that through three processes or three steps. First is to log in with Google to use a Gemini API key or to use a Vertex API key. So I will be selecting the Gemini API key, and I'm going to show you how to use this. So what we need to do then is go to Google AI Studio, this link, hit get API key, and then create a new API key and select your Google project and just click create API key in the existing project. And I will just copy that. I know you can see my key now, but by the time you're watching this video, I would have revoked access to that key. So let's just open a new terminal session here and let's run. You would need to add this to your Zish profile. And if you just come down, let's just make sure we grab the right and copy that key again, hit it, and don't forget to save. And let's just restart our shell and quit this and run Gemini. So let's reinstall Gemini again. Okay, so we need to restart our terminal completely. Awesome. And once you've done that, once you've installed it and you run Gemini again, you should be able to get that. Let's just test that everything works. Awesome. Another way that you can install Gemini CLI is through Homebrew. So I would also be doing that. And if you just copy this command and go to your Homebrew, I have Raycast. I'm using Raycast, but if you wanted to do this in terminal, all you just needed to do is paste that. But I have Raycast, so I will be using Raycast. And if you don't know what Raycast is, it's like Spotlight, but it's some advanced features, and it's just much better than Spotlight in my opinion. And let's just see if that installs Gemini CLI. Awesome. We have Gemini CLI installed. So let me restart my terminal. Awesome. We have Gemini added. So now that we've installed Gemini, the next phase is to add a MCP server to it. So to do that, what we need to do is go to the MCP server you want to use. So like I said, we'll be using Context7 for this. And if I just scroll down to the Gemini CLI installation instructions, so you see they have support for different MCP clients or for different editors or agents. So I would be using Gemini CLI, and I want to configure this globally. So to do this, we need to edit the settings.json file in our Gemini CLI direct installation directory. So if we do this and just open this in Visual Studio Code, let me pull this up more, and then we need to add the MCP server section, and that should basically add the Context7 MCP client. So let's give this a try. Okay, let's go to one of our directories and run Gemini. And then we have specific commands we could use, like about, auth, chat, clear. Let's see how to use the MCP client. Great. So we can basically check what MCP servers we have by running MCP list. So we see here that it recognizes the Context7 MCP client. And so let's just ask a very simple question. How can I use Next.js query params in a server page? So this is just a very simple prompt I'm giving it. And let's see if it uses the MCP server automatically, because sometimes it can automatically use the MCP server based on the prompt, or sometimes you will need to specify. And as we can see from the output here, it did not use the MCP server, and this is wrong because this is meant to be an asynchronous process, right? And so this is not the way to do it. So let's give that same prompt, but tell it use Context7, and let's see if that basically improves the output that it gives us. So, and it's asking you allow execution of MCP2. Yes, allow once, and then it does a thing. Yes. So this is interesting. So I don't know whose documentation is wrong here, but this is not how to use Next.js query params, right? And I will ask it, isn't this meant to be an asynchronous process? So this is something I find that they all struggle with. Gemini, Claude, every single one of them always struggles with this. I don't know why, but apparently this is even something Context7 cannot fix for us. But guys, that is how to install Gemini CLI on your MacBook, and I'm sure this should also work for Linux or Windows. I hope this video has been really helpful. If you like the video, please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notification. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.